Welcome to the GRESB training program. If you have participated in the GRESB Infrastructure Asset Assessment in the past, this video will provide you with an overview of the key changes in the Infrastructure Asset Assessment compared to 2020. However, if you intend to participate for the first time this year, we recommend you skip ahead to the next section instead. This lesson will cover the following. We'll start with an explanation of how the resilience module was integrated into the asset assessment in 2021. Following that, we will review the changes to the component weightings and implications for the score weightings per aspect. Next, we'll cover the materiality changes and changes to the sectors. Finally, we'll review the other indicator changes in the management and performance components. Let's start off with the integration of the resilience module. The resilience module was previously a standalone optional module that entities participating in the asset assessment could complete. With the increasing importance of understanding climate risk and monitoring to investors, the resilience module has been integrated into the main fund and asset assessments in 2021. Several indicators have been amended or are new in the asset assessment. In the aspect leadership, LE4, individual responsible for ESG and/or climate-related objectives, and LE5, ESG or climate-related senior decision maker, have been amended. In addition to ESG, the indicators now also request information on personnel involved in managing the entity's climate-related issues. In the aspect risk management, 5 new indicators have been added. These are RM3, resilience of strategy to climate-related risks, RM 4.1, transition risk identification, RM 4.2, transition risk impact assessment, RM 4.3, physical risk identification, and RM 4.4, physical risk impact assessment. The amended indicators in leadership will still be scored, although the new elements relating to resilience do not contribute to the scores for the indicator. The new indicators in risk management will not be scored in 2021. As part of the resilience integration, the 2 ESG issues, climate change adaptation, and resilience to catastrophe disaster, have been merged into one new issue, physical risk. We'll now take a look at the changes to the component and aspect weightings. The weighting ratio between the management and performance components has been shifted from 50-50 to 40-60. That means that the score for the management component will contribute 40% and the score for the performance component 60% to the GRESB Infrastructure Asset Assessment score. As the management component now contributes 40% to the asset's overall GRESB score, the weightings in the management component have been redistributed. As there are no new scored indicators or changes in scoring to existing indicators, the relative weights of each aspect remain the same within the management component. For example, the leadership aspect will continue to form 25% of the overall score of the management component. The performance component will now contribute to 60% of the asset's overall GRESB score. This means that the weightings will shift accordingly. As most indicators in the performance component are scored through a materiality-based approach, we cannot display a scoring percentage per indicator for the performance components that will be the same for each entity. For more information on materiality-based scoring, please refer to the lesson on materiality. The indicators in the aspects implementation and output and impact will remain unscored in 2021. We'll now review the changes to materiality in 2021. The materiality of several issues is determined by the number of employees reported by the entity and the reporting characteristics under RC2 economic size. In 2021, if an entity reports 0 employees in RC2, the materiality outcome for the ESG issues health and safety, employees, employee engagement, and inclusion and diversity will be no relevance. That means that these issues will no longer be scored for entities with 0 employees. The materiality outcomes for entities reporting more than 0 employees will remain the same for these issues as in 2020. As explained earlier in this lesson, physical risk is introduced as a new issue in the 2021 assessment. The materiality for this issue is determined in RC7, GRESB Materiality Assessment, through the question, is the entity located in an area exposed to climate-related phenomena or natural catastrophes? The materiality for the ESG issue, water inflows withdrawals, is also determined by a question in RC7, GRESB Materiality Assessment. Following participant feedback and analysis of 2020 data, the thresholds for high and low water withdrawals have been amended. High water withdrawals are water withdrawals of over 1,000 megaliters per year. Low water withdrawals are water withdrawals of less than 1,000 megaliters. The materiality outcomes for the answer options remain the same. We'll now take a look at the changes to the sectors entities can select in 2021. New sectors have been added in 2021. These are based on both participant suggestions and on sectors in the EU taxonomy that were not previously included in the GRESB asset assessment. Information on sector-determined materiality outcomes for these new sectors can be found in the GRESB Materiality tool. The sector Smart Meters has been moved under a different sector grouping and is now nested under Network Utilities and Data Distribution Companies. 2 sectors, Sea and Coastal Shipping and Inland Water Transport, were removed and replaced by new sectors aligned with the EU taxonomy. Finally, we'll review the other changes in the 2021 asset assessment. As mentioned earlier in this lesson, new indicators were added to the management component as part of the integration of the resilience module in 2021. Several other minor changes were made. A full overview of the changes and why these were made can be found in the 2021 Asset Assessment Reference Guide. Several changes were made to indicators in the performance component. First, the indicator OI1, Output and Impact, is now mandatory for all participants completing the performance component. This means that all participants will need to provide a measure of output for the reporting year. This will allow GRESB to calculate the output intensity for all quantitative indicators in the performance component and facilitate investors in benchmarking assets on their ESG performance. In the indicator EN1, Energy, the table Energy Generated from Fuels was removed. Metrics were also added to the energy, air pollution, and waste indicators. A new table was added to the indicator WT2, Water Outflows Discharges, on water quality. The metrics in this table will not be mandatory in 2021, but it will allow participants to report on another dimension of water discharges that is relevant for stakeholders. Finally, it's now possible to report the gender pay gap under EM2, Inclusion and Diversity. This will be optional in 2021. Thank you for watching this lesson. If you have any questions or would like further information, please review the reference guide that is freely available to all participants or get in touch with our help desk.